The trial reading for Volume 4 of the third year arc is finally released, and from the monologue alone we got a really surprising development that actually falls into prediction. But still a surprise because it came this early, which is Ibuki's possible expulsion. If you remember certain quotes from the synopsis, this Ibuki's monologue confirms that Ayanokoji is the one who decided the expulsion, and Ibuki is the one who decided to get expelled. From what Ibuki said, she actually had a feeling that she wouldn't be able to catch up with this school any longer, and she is always disposable compared to Ryuen or Hiyori. But before she leaves the school, she wants to punch Ayanokoji for the first and last time. Surprisingly, Ibuki directly told Ayanokoji her request because she knew she wouldn't succeed in a fair fight, and Ayanokoji actually allowed her to punch him. However, the monologue ends without telling us whether she actually punched him or not, or whether Ibuki actually got expelled or not. This monologue sounds really provocative since it directly told us which student would get expelled, but I think the chance is really small for them to make it really obvious, so Ibuki's expulsion seems unlikely to happen. However, if the author actually plays reverse psychology and actually expels Ibuki, her expulsion will definitely bring quite a shock for a few characters. If you remember Ayanokoji and Horikita's conversation back at Volume 10 second year arc, Ayanokoji asked Horikita what she would do if she could achieve victory by expelling Ibuki. Since Ayanokoji has a chance to expel Ibuki in this exam, he will most likely take that chance just to test Horikita, and Horikita's reaction will decide whether Ibuki will get expelled or not. However, why Ayanokoji had the authority to expel Ibuki is still shrouded in mystery. The exam rules are complicated, and they did end up in the same group, but this is not an exam where Ayanokoji could just choose who to expel or not. For starters, the member of the group was decided by the water bottle that they picked from the previous volume. It's actually already hinted at the end of the previous volume, but their group was decided by the color of the bottle label, and whether they have a sign on their cap or not. Each group consists of 16 students and one adult supervisor, but group number 10 is the only one that doesn't have 16 students in it. Ayanokoji ended up in the same group as Ibuki, Katsuragi, Kushida, Ika, Shinohara, and also Morishita. It's actually fun to see how Morishita always finds her way to bother Ayanokoji, and even Ayanokoji already knew this exam will be an exhausting one, and it's not because of the exam itself. The purpose of this exam is to gather as many tokens as possible throughout various challenges that are still not explained. There will be a certain goal that students need to achieve, and their group ranking will be determined when the majority of students in the group reach their goal, which means if 9 students already reach this certain goal, the exam is practically over for them. Each group will get an additional reward depending on their rank. The group that ranks in the first place will get 100,000 private points for each student, and their amount of tokens will be multiplied by 100%. The lower the rank, the lower the reward will be, and if a group is somehow disqualified from the exam, the students will not get any private points. Additionally, the class leader will get an extra reward depending on their group rank. For example, since Ayanokoji is in the third group, his class will get 100 class points if Ayanokoji's group ends up getting the first rank. However, his class will lose 50 class points if his group ends up in the last place. It will be the same case with Horikita, Ryuen, and Ichinose, so a group with class leaders in it will definitely get more attention. The reward is indeed big in terms of private points, but the risk of penalty for that reward is no less terrifying. For starters, the student with the least token after the multiplier at the end of the exam will be expelled, and if there is a student whose token reaches the number 0 during the exam, that student will also get expelled. The expulsion penalty will only be valid once, so if one student already gets expelled, there is no need to fear it anymore. But just in case there are a few students with the same amount of tokens, the student with the lowest overall ability is the one who will get expelled. Other than expulsion, each student who doesn't reach the goal will have their class point reduced by 5, and their token multiplier is also reduced to 70% regardless of their group ranking. This penalty is simply terrifying because if the entire class doesn't reach their goal, that means they will lose 200 class points in an instant. To make it worse, students who still don't reach their goal when group ranking has been determined will lose 1 class point every 30 minutes until they reach their goal. No matter how you think about it, this penalty is simply brutal, because if a certain student cannot reach their goal for the entire day, That means they will be responsible for 48 class points lost, and since this exam is for days long, losing 100 class points just because a single student is not out of the possibility. Gaining tokens as fast and as much as they can is definitely crucial to prevent penalties, and thankfully the tokens are transferable among the students. There is no limitation on how many times you transfer or how many tokens you transfer at once, but to transfer them, the wristwatches of the two students involved need to stick close together, just like how they form a group in the uninhabited island exam. They could contact any student through their wristwatch, but it will cost 1 token for a 5-minute call. They could also track student location for 1 token, so there will be no problem with communication in case the class leaders want to organize their class. However, if student leaves the area where their supervisor stays, they will lose 1 token each hour, so if students want to share their token, it's better to do it in less than 1 hour. For a note, after students reach their goal, their number of tokens will be finalized, and no further transfer will be possible. If the students are somehow sick and cannot continue the exam, they will still be able to receive token transfer regardless of distance, but the ranking of the sick person group will only be determined if every student except the sick one reaches their goal. Each student will start with at least 2 tokens given by the school, and even though there is no confirmation, Ayanokoji believe that the number of tokens each student receives is decided by how long they stay on the island in the previous exam, with both Yamamura and Shiraishi got 12 tokens at the start since they survive until the end. There will be 2 types of token, which are head and tail. Every token that student gets from the challenge will be counted as a head token, while tokens that are achieved from transfer will be counted as tail tokens. Every token will be counted in the final result, but only the head token will be counted in the individual reward. As for the individual reward, the student who collects the most head tokens will get 100 class points and 500,000 private points. However, if there are a few students with the same amount of tokens, the reward will be divided between them. Additionally, for every head token that the students hold, the school will give them 1,000 private points. Judging by the rules, this exam is indeed complicated with a lot of things that need to be considered. We still didn't know how many tokens students need to collect, but reaching the goal too fast will remove students' ability to transfer points, so every step will need to be planned carefully. It's also worth noting that since a group consists of all 4 classes, it's totally possible to exclude 1 class and make them lose in purpose, which is a true nightmare for Class A students. However, the most uncomfortable feeling in this exam came from the fact that it was so easy to betray one another. Even if it's student in your own class, there is no guarantee they would help you, because everyone must want to secure their own safety. For example, if the other 3 classes exclude Class A students from their teamwork, the Class A students will eventually turn on each other, hoping that it's not them who will get expelled. The rules are indeed complicated, and there is a lot of room for drama and conflict, but this is not the first time Kinugasa has made such complex rules and just abandoned them later, so there is no need to burn your brain with the rules. Instead, let's talk about the last part of the trial reading, which is Ayanokoji's little interaction with his group. The most highlighted part is definitely how Ayanokoji treated Ika in this volume. After both Ika and Shinohara lowered their heads and greeted Ayanokoji simply ignored them and said they are not worth greeting. Ayanokoji probably just wants to make them angry, and it's proven really effective. Actually, instead of Ibuki, Ika and Shinohara have a higher chance to get expelled, so let's prepare ourselves for a little twist at the end of the volume. And the last part from the trial reading is the scene where Ayanokoji, once again, is searching for Hiyori. He already did this at the end of the previous volume, but this time we get more monologue of how Ayanokoji's heart has probably changed. It's probably weird to hear, but Ayanokoji somehow feels uncomfortable with how he is disconnected from Hiyori on the island. Ayanokoji is wondering why his eyes are always following her, but unfortunately, he still cannot grasp the actual concept of his feelings. Just from this monologue alone, we can assume that Kinugasa actually has some plan regarding their relationship, so it's just weird if Hiyori will get expelled in this volume. Needless to say, we also cannot simply assume that Ayanokoji actually falls in love, and even if it's love, it probably wouldn't be a happy one. There will be more parts released on the 18th, and Volume 4 of the 3rd year arc will be released on the 24th, so all of our questions will eventually be answered in a week. However, based on this trial reading, I still believe this volume wouldn't be the end of the island exam. Shiraishi said that the first and second years have their own exam on the ship, and we already got Tsubasa and Ichika illustrations, so they will eventually become part of the exam. It will be brutal if the third year needs to do 3 island exams in a row, but so far the island exam is already full of surprise, so it wouldn't be weird if this volume is actually just a prologue to an even bigger stage, but that will be a topic for another day. For now, let's just focus on what kind of exam is waiting for them in their second week on the island, and let's pray Koenji will finally do something meaningful.